this. Well,
Yeah.
that it's like, okay, well, we looked at this, and yeah, I can find people do it, but that's got to be a business, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, we can find people to volunteer to do shit all day long,
Right.
but when you've got to follow rules, you got to deal with the cops, you got to have policies and procedures, and you pay taxes and all kind of stuff. Now it's got to be for money
Right.
now, and
All
it's
money.
not that you can't set that up and have a certain level where we don't charge, and above that we do, and everyone understands. But I have to think about this because there are opportunities out there for people who know how to do this to perhaps. I wasn't allowed to go out and do that myself. I was an attorney, but I grew on my property for a number of people who were just deathly ill. Okay,
Right.
I filled the gap in. But the best way to do it, in my view, is to have this set up so you can have monitoring remotely. Set a camera up. I'm growing some plants, and you start turning yellow. Shit, somebody better go take a look at it.
Right.
And you can get data points. I checked into buying these, in wholesale from the government. You stick it in the ground, it tells you moisture. It'll tell you chemical levels and the temperature. And I even sat down and talked with the guy, hey, design one of these goddamn things. You set a booth up, you put a plant in there, and someone can do it remotely, water it, make sure temperature and humidity all is run. And, if you get 6 plants, maximize that.
Right. That makes
Okay?
sense.
Now, that's something I'm happy to chat with people about. Because I can set business structures up, or Heather can too. And at some level, we can only do so much for free. We have bills to pay too. But I'm not trying to rape anybody here. But if you're going to do this, then do it where you have a legitimate business you're trying to do. Don't be afraid to look a deputy in the eye and go, here's my business license. I'm doing this. It's perfectly legal to do this. Um, and help people.
Right.
Okay. And
Okay.
I'm not even sure exactly what that means, but these are discussions I want to have. There's a need out there. Okay. And it's not all about making a buck,
Right.
but at some point you do have to make a buck to pay your taxes because they damn sure want their tax money.
Okay. One real quick one. I got a lot of votes on this one. The thing of it is a lot of people go to the cannabis club and they buy their cannabis for their ailments, and they said it's just so doggone much, and then they raise the prices again, and they said instead of us, and I understand on the federal level we're still at Schedule 1, but they want their medication somehow, a break if they're a medical patient. And so I suggested on a few things about maybe we could start a program just like the EBT thing, where like food stamps, more or less. When you go to the cannabis club, you put down your food stamp card, you get your allotment, and the government can pay for that, or the state pays for the medical of what these people need. So I got a lot of people saying that if they could do that instead of getting hydrocodones paid for and all their other medications, and they could go and get the cannabis and do a better job and actually cure some of their stuff and don't have to take medications for it anymore. So that was a big
Well,
point.
and that's why the pharmaceutical company is going to fight that tooth and nail because you're taking money out their pocket, right?
Well,
That's what we got to change, though, because it's just
I,
not right.
I have been at the Capitol
Yeah.
trying to talk to these, assemblymen and state senators about how creative can we get.
Right.
And the damage that was done in their mind by this explosion in the SB 420 period, where people were just rocking money and not wanting to follow any rules, they have a bad taste in their mouth. That's the reality on the legal side, what we call the de jure side.
Right.
I've been down there knocking on the door, talking to them, and they don't want to be creative. They don't want any money involved because they don't trust anybody who's not going to skim it off and steal it. And that's every industry does that, but this one particularly is like that. So you have to now drop to the local level,
Right.
who have the authority under state law to be a little more creative.
Right. Right.
Okay. Now, I have some ideas, and I would certainly like to have the ad hoc committee set back up so we can present ideas officially. Let's vet them, talk about them. How would it work? And if we need changes to ordinances or policies in the county, then they can take them back to the board as an inside motion, that we put something in, get staff to give us reports, and then organize a policy change. That doesn't happen overnight. What I suspect we're going to see is that 6 plants is going to be where a lot of people are going to be comfortable, and above that, people are going to be scared. And when you're sick and you're scared, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
But we're going to be dealing with that this year, and hopefully we can start dialogue before we go into next year and people are planning that how can we try to meet someone's legitimate needs.
Yeah.
That's a dialogue that we have yet to have.
Okay.
Because everyone thought 200 square feet, yeah, live with it. No one really squawked much. They weren't enforcing a little bit extra. Now they are.
Right.
So the dynamics have changed a little bit, but there is no magic answer. I deal with the world as it is today. I aspire to lots of things, and I get frustrated as hell trying to deal with people who bark back. Oh, I can't stand the smell of everything. Yeah, well, okay. Well, I don't like chicken shit or cow shit either.
Right.
It smells kind of bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but we tolerate a lot of that, so that doesn't help the situation. It's very frustrating when you look around, and I can go rent a Legion Hall and get a liquor license for $50.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's.
because we've had that. And it's like it's going to cost me $100,000 to be able to give people free weed. Really?
Yeah, that's what was commented about when Brian says, "Wish we could go home and self-medicate." I go, "What do you call booze?" Well, you're probably sucking it down right
was
now.
So inappropriate.
I thought so too, and I think he might have been a little drunk himself while he was there.
Well, and nothing would surprise me. Listen, my family owned liquor stores when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Right.
Okay. And it's part of the culture. And when you make comparisons, there's the toy aisle right next to the goddamn vodka aisle in Walmart. Okay,
Yeah.
but the children.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
I've got my family. We've raised kids around pot. None of them are serial killers.
Right.
It's an ideological and it's cognitive dissonance because we're putting in front of them facts which don't match up with their ideology, and so the butthole tightens up and their face gets like that. Well, let's put it all indoors. Well, okay,
Yeah.
I get it, but
It's too much. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few that ask about the part about the sheriff in the approaching orders of what Officer Ishmael went through, and they said if the approach procedure was changed, what would be a good idea for an approaching a pot garden? I mean, what would they do different so this Ishmael can't
okay.
get?
Well, I was involved with law enforcement and law enforcement politics when a couple of events happened, 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
And their response was, we're getting bigger weapons. We're going to get, the stuff that'll knock your fences down, and we're coming in with SWAT. Okay?
Right.
That's what you should expect because that's what they want to do. This law enforcement day is a lot like the military mentality. It's to go and we're going to crush you.
Yeah, I feel that.
And their default, given all the jobs to deal with shit that is not dealt with by crushing people. They don't know how to do that. They're not trained. They're not, equipped. And pot makes them mad. Okay?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Because people don't do what they're told. Yeah, well, you're not my dad, okay? I had that debate DA 20 years ago. No, the DA's not your father. The sheriff's not your father. We're responsible people. They're mad at us, okay? But when I was in prison, I figured out real quick that we spent way too much enforcement time on people we're mad at.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, there's groups out there we should goddamn sure be afraid of.
Yeah.
They dropped a kid in the parking lot in Georgetown. They shot this deputy. They're coming back at you hot, so you should expect they're going in hot.
Right.
And you don't want to be caught in that crossfire. And, again, that was part of my concern. If you need more than 6 plants, when do we ask for that? And there's Second Amendment rights that come into play there. There's Fifth Amendment rights come into play with all this pre-registration and pre-identification of who I am. But when they find you, okay,
Right.
now I'm on your radar. What are we going to do?
Yeah. That's what we're all afraid of. And I said, there's so many people that is in the fear's way because they don't want to say anything because they are already invested for this year. And they are so afraid to get on any kind of grid because they figure they got one good last chance to grow, it sounds like. And they're going to jump on that wagon. And I don't blame them. But I stopped everything because I was going to get in the clone business myself. And now that this is happening, I'm going to turn the other cheek and go the other way possibly, and worry about just the 6 plants. Sounds like I don't want my property taken or raids coming here. I went through that once or twice. Cops coming in with the cops, the guns are drawn, and yeah, that was terrible. I think that's the post-traumatic stress is what I'm still going through today because of that. Thank God for Candyland. That's what I say.
Well, it happened to my
Time
family.
to have
They
some.
came in with guns and held my children at gunpoint.
That's insane.
Okay.
I mean, what's these
Yeah.
kids going to shoot
and
the
I
cop?
invited their asses up. And
Yeah.
they've been to my property 2-3 times a year for like 3 years in a row. And they come in with, 20 SUVs and AR-15s and really stuck guns to my kid's head. They flipped him out.
They don't even treat the
It's
cartel
not
like that.
funny. And I don't have any problem dealing with the cops about that. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
But they are a junkyard dog. Let's just,
Yep.
we need junkyard dogs.
That's a good way of putting
Okay?
it.
We
I
do.
like that.
But when you ask the junkyard dog to make policies like asking a carpenter with a hammer, what's the problem? Everything's a nail. Okay? If you're a junkyard dog, if I tell you not to move, the next thing I'm going to bite you.
Yes.
Okay, so that's their mentality, and the voters took away their ability through the criminal system to go do that. If someone's smoking a joint and it's a ticketable offense, and you come in with a SWAT unit and you shoot them because they don't hit the ground and spread out, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's what
They'd
we're worried
like
about.
to do that at some level, but that's a problem. Okay, and they haven't adjusted to it yet. And that's just the facts. The cops have been given the job, everything from being a marriage counselor to dealing with somebody shooting out the window of a car, driving down the freeway to God only knows what, okay?
Yeah.
And drugs, they have no clue how to handle it. They have been a miserable failure for 100 years as they've been trying to figure this out. It's not a law enforcement issue. It's a personal use public health issue, okay? And what they can't figure out is that less than 20% of people who ever use drugs ever go on to ever have a question they're abusing it.
Right.
And within that small group, a very small number actually go on to be the problems. But
Right.
the problems are from prohibition, not from the plant, okay, or the drug. It's the way it's dealt with. And that has not clicked with the cops yet. They were given control over drugs. They don't want to give it up. Well, the voters took it away
Yeah.
over pot. And here, you're going to see some things happen that, I know what's coming. I do.
Well, hey, did you want to take a little break? I don't know. I just wondered if you guys wanted to take a little break and get something to drink or something.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, I want to engage in these conversations so we can have more.
Okay.
Okay.
I like that. I like that.
And I want people to understand what they should expect and what they should anticipate doing if they have encounter with code enforcement or heaven forbid the cops show up. Okay, because this is about everybody's safety. I don't want anybody getting shot growing a plant. That's just the stupidest damn thing in the world. Okay.
Well, is there some kind of foundation or something about Officer Ishmael? And I just say that we should start something, and this is also brought up by many people. I need to tell you about it before it gets too late. Is can't we think of some kind of funding for Officer Ishmael and make it a campaign to free all laws on cannabis?
Well, there's all sorts of possibilities. We reached out to my former secretary whose husband was murdered,
Right.
and we asked, what should we do? And until we hear back from her that I think we're beyond the mourning period, and the mourning period now, just so you're aware, is going to include some enforcement actions by the sheriff.
Yeah.
because that's going to be part of how they're going to grieve. And I don't like it, but you know, I was in the military and I've been around cops, and I know, you know, they're in the business of killing. Okay,
So leave
or
that alone,
telling you no,
basically.
backed up by I'll beat the shit out of you, kill you if you don't do what I tell you.
Yeah.
That's a domination sort of role,
Back to
and
Festus days.
there, you know, I'm into cooperation. My brother is an anthropologist, and he's got the cooperation versus, you know, domination model in peace studies. You know, but I'm the guy who goes in and deals with people who kill each other. So,
Right.
you know, we have some interesting discussions about how do we bring peace. Well, the female side of me says cooperate, but that, you know, that hunting pack of chimpanzees going out to kill something in a tree and eat it, which too many of us have inside of us, wants to go hurt somebody right now.
Right. Right. Okay, and then the other thing that I want to touch basis on too, there's a few people, like 20 people asked this too. Is it illegal to make RSO oil in your home?
No.
No,
Not
that
RSO. If you're talking about alcohol extraction
yeah,
with legal 151, then
uh,
the answer's no.
it's not illegal.
No, if you're using a legal product, okay,
Yeah.
and it's legal to have the biomass to mix with a legal product, and out of that comes a concentrate. I mean, that's how traditionally cannabis concentrates were made, besides making hash.
Okay.
Ethanol is not declared a volatile solvent in the state, okay?
Okay, we're
And,
talking state rules, not federal, though, right?
well, in the federal system, you're just fucked.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
I'm just going to tell
Yeah.
you,
Oh yeah.
everything's
Oh.
illegal.
Oh no. Oh. Yes, you really.
Okay?
Yeah.
Hey, I grew 106 plants in 3 years. I got 5 years for that.
It's just insane. It's
Well, no, it's
insane.
insane, but it happened. And, you know, that getting in the ass by a corn cob without lube is not fun.
Yeah.
Or a cactus branch. That's what it's like. I get this, okay? And I don't want to see anybody else go through what I went through or my family went through.
That's why
But
we're
some of
talking
this
to you today.
is, like I said, the rape victim. You close your eyes and hope to God it's over with soon.
Yeah, that's a good way of
To
putting it.
clarify, Tony, just to clarify, BHO, so butane
Oh,
extraction
BHO. I thought he
is
said Rick
illegal
Simpson
and-
oil.
No, we were right about
No,
six.
I think you did.
Yes, and not and I don't do the honey oil or anything like that because that just
Yeah,
I think
that's manufacturing. That's a felony under state law.
well that's ruining the plant too. I think that it's past medicinal. I don't know. I guess I never dabbed before, so shoot me if I'm saying that.
The traditional medicines, they distilled high test alcohol, soaked the plant in that, strained it out, and then evaporated the alcohol off, and you're left with a concentrated oil. I
Okay.
mean, that's been around for, you know, 1,000 years probably. They perfected distillation to help with that. So
Okay.
that's around in the 1800s. All of these liquids were made like that.
Right.
Okay, with high test ethyl alcohol, and then they would distill it off, and you're left with a concentrate. They'd mix it in, you know, give it to a medium-sized, long-haired dog, and when it fell over in 2 minutes, it was really strong, and he's still looking at you in 10 minutes, like, add more pot to it, you know. That was, it's comical at some level. And I made BHO. I taught people how to make it. I wouldn't do it today. You'll blow your house up,
Oh.
okay? And they'll give you a felony if they catch you.
Oh yeah, if you do
saw
it, it's
anything
safe.
about that recent raid that was X number of plants, but it had a BHO lab in it. You're
And-
going to jail for that.
And for those that don't know, RSO oil is Rick Simpson's oil. We're referring to the same guy, right?
Well, yeah, but what it really describes is an extraction technique like BHO is butane honey oil. It's a butane extraction, and there's hexane and pentane, and you know there's a bunch of them
Right.
that will dissolve the cannabinoids and terpenes off this at different levels. And we set those businesses up. I've seen the machines. I've seen them run. I know how it works.
Right.
That's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
I think traditional products, which are the flour, or if you're going to do anything, you take the keef off either through ice water extraction, the old sieving extraction.
I've done
You
that.
got to grow a lot to hand rub, so that's really not a possibility here. But those products are not making concentrates as a manufacturer. And now that the state has declared that ethanol is not a volatile solvent, inside the beltway, when we talk about this, it looks like alcohol extraction is not going to catch a manufacturing felony as VHO will.
Okay. All
But
right.
that's not, I'm not your lawyer. I'm not telling you to do it.
No.
I'm telling you that the odds are against that, but it doesn't mean someone won't charge you with it if they catch you doing it.
Okay, here's the other one too. I'm sorry, I'm kind of pushing. I just want to make sure to get through there, and I know
We
all
still
the,
got till 6:00, dude.
I know, but I
told you
want
have
to.
my chocolate fix, and I got some water here to drink on.
I wanna make sure that
we started. So
some-
this old man's bladder's still doing okay.
Some callers that probably have questions just itching to get out to ask you, but there's one I just would like to get out before, and basically, is there any rules against trading cannabis for labor services?
Well, okay. The law says you can give away an ounce or 8 grams. Okay?
Yeah.
So whatever service you're talking about, you can exchange 1 ounce at a time or 8 grams at a time. And I don't know how many multiple times you may have to do that, but
I
it's
understand.
theoretically possible, yeah.
Okay, I like that answer. Is there anybody that wants to ask him a question right away? Is that okay, Dale?
Yeah, hey, ask me. I'll tell you what I think. You may not like my answer, but I'll tell you what I think.
Well, I don't know how it works. Is there like a little hand that you got to raise up, or how does that work?
Well, no, everybody's unmuted, so anybody who has a question, feel free to
We
ask.
got 7 people on the call.
Okay. I noticed, Val, do you want to say something?
No, I'm good. I'm listening.
Okay, I just want to make sure I get through these here and make the video at least not boring to watch, and we get some vital points here. One was I noticed they talked a lot about the smell was a big issue of why they needed these 6 plant rules. Well, how are they going to stop the smell of even 6 plants? I don't understand. I guess
Now
now.
you're being logical.
Well, now there's a COVID virus, right? We all got to wear masks, so the smell shouldn't be any worse anymore, right?
Well, okay, but the difference is commercial versus personal, okay?
Yeah.
So far, there's no requirement of smell tests for personal.
Right.
We're trying to deal with in the commercial world, and it is no small task.
No.
Because what I think might cause the odor of cannabis that some might find pleasing, some might find offensive, that has a certain molecular structure. Okay, and I'm a chemist, so I fall into the category of what's the chemical we're talking about.
Right.
Well, it smells. We got a high level. We got a high level of what exactly? I want to know.
Terpenes? Is that
Okay.
terpenes?
That's where it starts getting muddy, and we are literally looking for people to come out and do this, sniff test, if you will. And they're asking, what the hell are we measuring?
They're going to have little sniff
Oh.
computers now.
Well, they broke out the thing called a nasalometer, and I just about fell out of my chair laughing. What is that? Okay? Because I drive Interstate 5 past Harris Ranch, and I don't need no goddamn nasalometer. My eyes are watering. Okay? That's ammonia. That hurts.
I
okay?
remember that, yes.
What's that all about? But to be fair, the ag people own that county where it is. So there you have it. And in this county, law enforcement has some sway over public policy.
Okay. Now, here's another one. I got a few people griping about this. They said, we want to be able to eat the leaves. You can't get the leaves at the candy clubs. Is there any way that can change? That's a couple people are saying something about that. Is that something that's legit to be sniveling about?
So,
Depends on whose eyes you're looking at it through.
Well, some people eat it. I guess this vegan eats it like salad every day, and it requires more than 6 plants. If you know how the leaf thing works, because I know, I like to feed leaves to my livestock, and the poor plants got bald a few times because they enjoy it, and they're very healthy animals, because of it. So I don't know what you got to say about that, but that's out there.
Well, what I can say is aspire to what you want, but in the world today, um, if you think you're going to juice cannabis leaves and be healthy on 6 plants, then go ahead. They're not going to give you more than 6 plants because you want to take a bath in it or shove it up your ass or you want to, make a face cream out of it.
Okay.
They're not going to do that.
Okay.
Now,
Now
it doesn't
here's.
mean we can't make that something they can have discretion to look into if you're legit. But what we've been told by the county is they look at anybody that's looking at cannabis as, what do you want? What are you trying to get away with?
Right.
Okay. So it's a prevailing attitude. We have not gotten to the point in El Dorado County where they're comfortable with people rolling one up and smoking it like they would have a glass of wine with their kids around. They still butt pucker over things like that.
Yeah, I can
Well,
see that.
I see that as just such hypocrisy, but it's baked into their ideology. They have decided that I don't like smoking tobacco, but it's legal. I like to drink, and that's cool. And you guys are a bunch of law-breaking, pot-smoking hippies.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I
yeah,
hear you.
I've been smoking weed for a long time.
Okay, here's another one. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through it. It's is the medical license an obsolete type of system now?
De facto, it is.
Uh,
It ain't worth shit right now.
uh,
But from the legal side, it still exists. So there's room to use that as sort of a bootstrap to get the politicians to listen,
oh,
because
is it
they
a
do
political?
have the authority under the remaining medical state authorizing statutes to do lots of things that are medical.
Okay.
Okay, I pointed that out to him. I cited on the statute. I even gave him a copy attached to my letter so you can read it. Pretty plain English.
Okay. Another quick one was a license. If you get a medical license, is it true you can't get your gun? You can't buy a gun, or you can't get your concealed gun license.
Is that true?
It's still true.
Yep.
So how do they know that you bought a license if you go in to get a gun?
Well,
They're connected?
the concern is at multiple levels. Okay,
Like a
if you're
commercial cannabis
identified,
license?
what's that?
Like a commercial cannabis license, you're asking? Or are you asking about a medical, like, recommendation?
That would be medical I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, I know of someone in the county who got right to the sheriff's office to fill the last questionnaire and get his permit, concealed weapons permit, and they knew he was a cannabis user, asked him, he wasn't going to lie, and they closed the book and said, we don't give concealed carries to anyone involved with cannabis.
Oh,
Okay. That's at the sheriff's level.
wow.
Okay.
Isn't
Now,
that a little
bump
pushing
that
it?
up to the federal level. Okay.
Right.
If you don't understand how this came about, let me tell you. They put drugs and guns as enhancing factors. Okay.
Oh,
And
wow.
if you read the federal firearms statute, if you have firearms around an illegal substance, and specifically a Schedule 1 illegal substance, then you're looking at 3, 5, 7 years, I think, as added on, not concurrent sentences, but consecutive. You finish your underlying crime, and then they add the gun enhancement on after. And these are statutory. You don't get to just waive them and try to crumb them together. It doesn't work that way. I have a whole shitload of combat disabled vets I represent, and their PTSD, they dab. I can't even watch them dab. Makes me pass out watching them.
Really?
Okay, and they're afraid to lose the ability to medicate so they don't kill themselves for other people. And if it becomes known, then they could be precluded from going out and buying a gun, because then you have to lie in your applications. If you get identified as a Schedule 1 drug user, the feds think you're just a heroin addict. Okay,
Wow.
that's in their book. It's the same thing. You're not getting a gun. They roll in on you, and you're growing weed, and you have a gun. I faced this. They show up at my house. I had a shitload of guns in my house, and I was growing weed.
Yeah.
but I bought my guns from cops. So
Oh.
when they looked at charging me, my attorneys kind of reminded me, we're going to have to bring the deputies in he bought the guns from.
Oh
Do that.
no!
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Well,
a whole can of
brought you in
worms
here.
open there.
Well,
Ooh.
you know, one of these days we'll sit down when we can be comfortable. I'll tell you lots of war stories about how fucked up this whole thing is.
Yeah.
Because I took it up the ass for 12 and a half years.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a really quick question, and then I'm probably running out of questions here, and everybody's going to yell at me, but I got like 50 more, and I know you've probably been through these questions already. But one big one is, how close are we to getting the Schedule 1 to 2 in the federal level?
Well, I can't hold my breath that long.
Yeah, but you know
No,
these.
let me tell you some discussions I've had. I discussed this with Dana Rohrabacher back in the day. In my case, Molly and I were some of the impetus for the original Rohrabacher Farr Amendment. He thought they're in prison for what? For this crazy stuff. Okay, he was trying to break in the Republican establishment, and they're ideologically driven. And the Democrats have vested capitalist interests, which cause them to be, kind of reluctant. Now, I talked to also Rand Paul at a fundraiser. Little bitty shit,
Yeah.
I'm 6.5 feet tall. He's a little guy. He's looking at me like that, little man syndrome. But it's like, look, Rand, if we could grow hemp across the entire Midwest and bring back Detroit and Chicago and Cleveland and bring processing in for hemp, you could get jobs, and the working guy would love you. Okay, can the Republicans get on board with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
and Trump hangs it out like it's a little carrot and stick. Well, maybe I'll give you this, I'll give you that. No, that ain't going to happen. And Biden doesn't understand it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I found
he
that
just
out.
doesn't.
Yeah.
He's gone with the political winds for a long time here, and he still has some butt pucker about maybe it's an on ramp to serious drug abuse. Yeah, shut up.
I'll have to
But
agree with
at
you.
least he's going to bring some people around him who will be able to try to educate him a bit more. And if he can back off of these threats coming out of the DOJ to go enforce, I think we can work some things out. We need the tax and the banking situation to be fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. And right now, the federal governments make a lot more money off the 280E problem than people want to admit.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because you just don't get the deduction. So they get to take all the extra money in tax. It's, they don't want to change it because they're making too damn much money at it. So you got to give them something to think about. It's going to be a different model.
Right.
The alcohol model and tobacco was they put it into their own agency called ATF now, and they deal with it not as a law enforcement problem but a tax issue. You pay your taxes, the feds get them out of your way. They don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I pay
Now-
my taxes, that's for sure.
Well, but it's like The Godfather. I'm gonna take my little peck as it comes by. They
Yeah.
want a big peck.
Yeah.
Okay, and they have the enforcement tools to hurt you. You don't want to pay them what they want.
Yes.
And not that I like it, but it's a reality of trying to do business with any governmental agency. They got to be funded.
Right.
And the reason why Bree didn't want to do the waivers because they don't have any money to do it. Well, I just had to remind them, you ain't got no money for enforcement either.
Okay.
Because no one's paid you a nickel yet for any tax on the cannabis grow. So
Right.
this is all coming out of somebody's pocket. Now it's a resource management issue.
Right.
I want everyone to sort of hear these concepts, because if you don't understand how government works, then let's have some, sessions on that.
Yeah.
Because if you can send information to the taxpayers, the union, that they're wasting our tax dollars doing something that's not effective,
Right.
okay, you can get a whole lot of pressure put on the supervisors to look into, why are you sending, an armored personnel carrier and 10 cops with AR-15s out to, mom and pop grow, if that ever happens.
Yeah. 'Cause it's coming. Like you said, it's on its way. I feel it too. May 1st, you said May 5th? They're gonna
Well,
check.
that's when they're going to have the final reading. And if I understand the emergency ordinances under the government code, that because it's an emergency ordinance, they can ask that it take effect right away.
Immediately. Yeah.
So they're gonna control people again with cannabis. Is that getting that right?
Well, in their mind, they're not controlling.
A reason to go in their house and snoop around and see what kind of harm they're doing.
Well, no, because if code enforcement comes, then they have a right to enforce what's in plain view from a lawful vantage point. And a satellite is a lawful vantage point. Your neighbor looking over your fence, lawful vantage point. Okay, so if you have more than 6 plants and it comes to their attention, then they can send you a notice of violation, and then enforce as a code enforcement. Give you some time to abate, come and check, and then nothing goes any further than that.
Wow. Okay. Oh, there's a couple coming in right now that says we need to compare these urban rules with mountain rules. The urban guys are coming up here and growing because, of course, you know, weeds better in the mountains, right? So now we're getting, slammed because they made all these rules in the urban areas to have to grow indoors, and they're finding out that's pretty dang expensive, and they burnt their houses down. I can send you some news broadcasts that I think there's like 10 different ones where the guys burnt their house down because they didn't know what the heck they were doing. And hey, if it should work, it got into that extension cord over there. Anyway.
Well, and once you make an insurance claim, and they go, "You were growing what?"
It's over.
We don't pay.
Yep.
I just had a webinar with an insurance buddy of mine, and there's some realities of the world above cannabis that will bite people on the ass.
Yep. Again and again.
And the urban situation.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. About the supervisors voting on May 5th, and they want to disregard the 200 square foot medical ordinance that's in place now. So say that they do get 6 plants per medical per person passed, and it takes effect immediately. Will there be provision for the caregiver grower that is the medical grower that's taking care of, say, 3 other medical people so that they can expand their garden?
No.
Okay, so I have another question. So about to the guns, okay? So if you have a medical permit, you cannot get a but then you still buy a gun that's not concealed. You can still go in and buy a gun, right?
Well,
good question.
Theoretically, my guns were taken away a long time ago, so I don't go buy them now. When you go to apply for purchase of a gun, you have to fill out some paperwork in the state of California.
Right. Wait 2 weeks. I know.
Well,
but I gotta tell you, my neighbor has a medical permit for 4 years now. Went down to Mosquito Outfitters and bought an AR-15 or whatever it's called, right before the law went into effect December 2 years ago, where you couldn't buy them anymore, and he was able to buy it no problem.
Well, does he have a state medical ID card?
No, well, we
Okay.
go to get the one from Cool that tells you how many you can grow.
Yeah, but Bobby, his clinic, the McRae Clinic, they don't put your name in the government's database. Okay?
Oh, that's a good thing. Okay.
Well, yeah, it is.
So far.
And it was a battle we fought 20 years ago. Okay, and then
Okay.
they came up, well, if you don't want to be arrested, you're going to have to get one of our state cards. Our response was, what's the downside of having that card? Okay.
Okay.
So nobody got the damn card because they figured out, if I got that card, I'm in somebody's database. And if you think
Right.
someone's not going to look, and my vet friends are like, Dad, I'm not getting anybody's card. Nobody needs to know
Right.
who I am. Because they take my
Okay, now
dabs away, I'm going to shoot somebody.
Okay, one more question, and then I'll give it back. So, say I do not renew my medical permit to grow by choice when it's due in July, then how long do I have to wait since now I don't grow and I'm not growing anything and I don't have a permit and I'm really not doing anything? Then can I go get a concealed permit?
If you're not on anybody's radar as being a
For anything else?
cannabis,
All right.
I mean, the guy I know has not been hiding. He's been part of our group for a while. He's an outspoken advocate, and
Okay.
the sheriff already knew. So, what I don't know is how deep is their intel, because they've been watching. These copters have been flying for a long time, right down on people's property. They got pictures. They know what's going on. You can do a Google search and see a greenhouse and a bunch of outdoor plants. It don't take rocket science to figure this out.
Right.
Now,
Are
didn't
they
they say
keeping
at the meeting on 4/21 that they were saying that the sheriff just bought a $500,000 satellite technology system?
The
where he
sheriff
can-
didn't buy it. The supervisors signed a contract for that.
Wow.
And you can
It's
see
renting it.
everybody what they're growing, if it's a tomato plant or if it's a cannabis plant, it's got high technology. And then the $1,000 a day to the property owner until the plants are removed. It's going to be, I can see liens coming, forfeiture, raids. It's just a big
Yeah.
mess.
That's the warning.
And guys, when I set up and do the paperwork for commercial cannabis, one of the things I have to be able to identify for the county is an APN number. I can put into a website right now on the county's website your address, and it tells me who owns that property, right?
Right.
They already know. That is one way they can cross-reference. Already know. If I can do it within 5 minutes, you know that the sheriff's department can do it. You know.
Well, and just to be clear, we pull up a Google map on the properties that we're developing. It's not recent, okay? And you don't have an idea when was this picture taken. And so what the satellite does, it has a technology fly over the property, identify the property, take the snapshot, give law enforcement a location that it is, that they can pull your parcel number, and then the person who owns it is going to get a notice along with the person that might be growing there. Now, since the case, the
I'm sorry.
Inland Empire case,
Hey, there's
way back when they were
1101.
starting to declare these public nuisances, and they were beginning to fine. They were testing the waters. Well, it is perfectly appropriate to fine, but about 2 years ago, the Supreme Court took an Indiana case where they took some guy's $40,000 vehicle for, a couple $100 worth of, I don't know, it was blow or something, but he said this is an excessive fine.
Yeah.
Okay? And the Supreme Court said, yes, it is. And you don't get to just take people's property unless you have some nexus between what they did and taking it.
Right.
And I brought this up to county council that you need to have a step in between, a due process step. You notify somebody, hey, you could be fined $1,000 a day for these plants. Okay? And so if that begins to happen, then there needs to be a review process so you don't get slammed with hundreds of thousands of dollars of liens unless you've stuck your thumb up your ass and just ignored every attempt they made to advise you to fix the problem.
Right. Well, the poor property owner that's renting their property and they decide to go to Australia for 6 months and maybe they didn't get their mail or whatever, and then they come home to find their properties in foreclosure or whatever.
Right.
Well, that's a possibility, and that's part of the due process that should be put in place. And this is not going to happen in 6 months. Okay, if you're going to take that kind of a step, these battles are going on because as soon as you start taking steps to take someone's property away, now it's worth to bring legal counsel into it, and they force you to do all sorts of side steps to make sure that that property isn't taken as an excessive fine under this Timms versus Indiana case. And they're going to have to figure this out because there were battles down Sacramento where they rolled in, they set all these fines up, and people stepped in and said, hold on for a second. We were not actually notified of this. You can't take this without due process. And there were some court decisions that just put the kibosh on it. And I brought that up to county councils that you look around in our jurisdiction where they try to do this. If you ain't careful and give notice and due process before you go in and take somebody's property, then you're going to end up spending thousands in attorney's fees where you shouldn't have to.
Yeah, I'd like to make a statement on that if I can. This is Casey. I have dealt with Wayne Scioto on 3 different occasions over the last 2 years, coming out to my place over complaints on smell. And I've been compliant every time that he's come, and he's been exceptionally gracious to us and thankful for us just being good people. But he has made a statement to a person here in El Dorado in the last week that he is saying that they will not be sending out letters as coming this year, and that once they are notified of someone being out of compliance, after 96 hours, him and the sheriffs are going to come in and just cut you down.
Yeah.
So I do want to note that that's been stated by Wayne himself, and that he's saying that he's not sending out letters. Now, I understand this is all still a process at this point, but that's kind of some of the stuff we're dealing with, and that's nothing but a problem. We've got to figure out how to mitigate that issue.
Well, that would be something that we could monitor through the ad hoc committee too, because it's a misdemeanor soaking wet for someone growing more than 6 plants. Okay, and now you can go up to 1,000. It's still a misdemeanor. Okay, so criminal enforcement is not where the small grower is going to have an encounter with the county. And that's part of the de facto problem the sheriff has, is you're going to get a chubby, I'm going to call everybody in from the whole state and start pulling all this illegal weed. Well, we got a virus now, and the answer from their local sheriff is, no, we're kind of busy, okay? And if they have X number of officers to go to 1,000 or 1,500 sites with guns, you're smoking crack. That's not going to happen.
Right.
Okay, so there's going to have to be somewhere in there where they strike a deal with code enforcement, and the satellite says this is a suspicious looking grow. Maybe it's an organization of people growing relatively small. Let's send somebody in to start the investigation. But someone with 8 plants, the sheriff ain't coming in to pull your plants. You're going to get a notice from code. They're already doing these notices right now.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, they're out there.
They've been cutting down farms out here over the last 2 weeks. I live near the sheriff. He's only a few minutes away from me, and they've been out here in absolute droves at Four Corners in Somerset.
Wow, really?
Just mowing down farms left and right. I mean, rightfully so. I mean, I understand it.
Well, that's definitely news.
Well, it's beginning to
but
happen.
these are large. What we're here to discuss right now is our medical patients' rights.
Yeah.
But
And they
wait,
mean
can I
nothing.
say something? Don't most medical patients that are really sick, they can't.
What does that mean?
Hello? I don't know. But they can't work, right? So they don't have the money to grow indoors. So they're growing outdoors. So how are these sheriffs coming around and taking down these outdoor grows that you're talking about right now? Because now is the beginning of the grow.
Okay, but you can
So
do
these
light
are
depth
greenhouse grows. I know one that just recently got taken down out here. They had 300-foot greenhouses. It was way outside of what ordinance uses.
Yeah.
Oh,
This has been going on for a while, and we're gonna have to stand back and watch some of that because if you're gonna blow it up this year, and people are asking me this question, and it's like, I ain't telling you to do this, but be prepared to cut back to 6 plants if you're fortunate enough to get a notice of violation. If the cops roll in, then all bets are off, because what they're looking for is every violation of the law. Because growing pot's a misdemeanor, they want to come out of it with felony charges. So fish and wildlife's coming along with them. If you cut down a tree, the timber people, if you're diverting water, you're poisoning wildlife. I mean, this shit's going to get real, and they may not even prosecute you growing weed.
so
Okay? And if you're trespassing on state or federal property, then those are some targets that if you want to go after them, please go get them. Okay, and the smaller grows. My intel is that some of these groups have been growing, 3 to 5 greenhouses on property, not blowing it up big, but there might be 3, 5, 8, 10 of them growing sort of together. So I understand that. And the grow that got Ishmael killed was like 75 plants.
Yeah, small amount.
Okay, that it was not like it was 1,000 plant grow with guard towers everywhere. No, but it was part of the Sinaloa cartel that was taking small operations like that and working together. And the sheriff knows it. I've had clients who struck these kind of handshake lease agreements on their property, and you put your property at risk when you do that.
Yeah.
Okay, and if some knucklehead shoots a cop, trust me, that landowner is going to prison
Yeah, absolutely.
for a long time.
He wasn't very smart about that one.
But he ain't the only knucklehead doing this.
Yeah,
Okay?
no, you're right. That's what I'm afraid of, because I told some of these people it's safe to have a garden. Plant a victory garden. You're at home with the coronavirus, plant you up a big old garden. You don't have to be weed, just put even veggies in there, but still, I was going to get them the clones.
Well, and you can throw 6 plants in there, okay? And grow them proud. Come and look, I got 6 plants. You got no other reason to be my property. I ain't illegal. Move on. The administrative part of this, people don't talk about this because